YouTube. We're doing something a little different today. We're gonna do a full day of eating with me being 24 weeks pregnant. I'm not gonna lie, what I'm eating right now really doesn't look a whole heck of a lot different than what I was eating prior to pregnancy. We'll talk about this a little bit more throughout the video, but I thought I would give you guys a bit of an idea of what I am eating, and I'll explain why I am choosing what I am choosing. So it's 4:30 in the morning right now. Yes, I get up this early every single day, and I have a bowl of mini wheats before we hit a workout. Finish up my workout and we're having a basic protein shake here. I'll put the macros right here for you, but what I like to have is just a cup Fairlife milk because it's really high in protein, a scoop of whey protein powder, and then we put about like 15 to 20 grams of frozen spinach in there, and then some frozen berries. I also will throw in a scoop of creatine as well. Still taking creatine while being pregnant. It's actually very beneficial, not just for my brain development, but for babies' brain development as well too. So creatine, monohydrate is definitely a must during pregnancy. Many benefits involved. Okay, so now I'm gonna make my breakfast. So I have a pretty heavy morning. As you can tell, I had my pre-workout meal at 4:30, post-workout shake, and now I'm gonna make an egg omelet and a bagel with cream cheese, which is probably my favorite meal of the day. Like I said, this is my favorite meal of the day. We have got an egg omelet with 100 grams of egg whites with some bell peppers and turkey bacon. So that is, oh, and I have my bagel here as well too. The biggest thing with this meal is I'm really prioritizing whole foods. Eggs are really good as long as they're fully cooked. And the cream cheese is just something I enjoy. I love cream cheese, and it is important to still include foods that you enjoy. So pretty high fat meal and high protein meal, 45 grams of protein. I don't track my macros every single day, but I still will weigh everything out, just making sure that the portion sizes are correct, as well as ensuring that I'm not overdoing it, especially with the cream cheese. But I don't track my food every single day, so I'll talk about that a little bit later. But on top of that, I'll show you my vitamins. I'm also taking a prenatal, obviously, taking this daily, as well as some omegas. I'm not really much of a fish person, so having like cooked salmon while you're pregnant for the omegas is really important, but like I said, not much of a fish person, so instead I'm taking some omegas. I'll take 4 of those a day, and then as well as vitamin D. Vitamin D, very, very important during that prenatal phase for baby's development. We haven't seen the sun a whole heck of a lot, so that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm still supplementing vitamin D. Typically, I only do it during the winter months because it's very gray here, but we've had a very slow start to our spring, so this is still a staple in my supplement pack. But yeah, so prenatals, omegas, vitamin D, creatine, and whey protein powder. That's it for my supplement stack. All right, it is time for some lunch. Let's move this over right here. It is time for some lunch. We have fried up some vegetables with some roast beef, primarily prioritizing broccoli in this. It's actually not too bad. I try to have some type of red meat each day. So I've been going back and forth between steak, extra lean ground beef, and today we're having some roast beef. The reason for that is because, especially as we slowly near the third trimester here, the risk of anemia is pretty high for a lot of pregnant women. The baby needs lots of iron, so anemia is higher risk for us pregnant ladies. Therefore, prioritizing foods that are high in iron is extremely important. And prior to me getting pregnant, I was actually iron deficient. I just stopped being iron deficient right before I got pregnant. I just made it out of that deficiency threshold. So since then, I have been trying to have either ground beef or some sort of red meat 4 to 5 times a week. And now I'm trying to have it every single day for the remainder of my pregnancy. I'm also taking an iron supplement as well. So for the roast beef, I've paired it with broccoli, and that's just because broccoli is pretty high in vitamin C, and the absorption of iron goes up when you do pair it with vitamin C. I'm sure a lot of individuals who have taken an iron supplement before, you were told to take it on an empty stomach and take a vitamin C tablet with it. Well, it's kind of the same thing that we're doing here, except with our food. So it's not too bad. I sauteed the vegetables in some butter and some salt just to give it some flavor, and it's not too bad. I try to have a meal like this that it's good, but it's not oh my God, my favorite meal, right? So I try to have my meals like this, for my lunchtime, where cravings aren't that high. Willpower is still pretty good. For a lot of individuals, it's very normal actually for our willpower to go down in the evenings because our stress levels go up after a day of work. So it's more difficult for us to eat foods that aren't hyper palatable. So I do recommend you save your favorite meal, if you will, for the evening, which I will share with you all after this. And last meal of the day probably is protein oats, which is really good. If you've never had protein oats, then you've been living under a rock. But I say probably my last meal because if I get hungry later in the evening, I'll go have a handful of almonds or something like that. And I just been really listening to my hunger throughout this entire pregnancy. The biggest thing with nutrition during pregnancy is it's not about eating for two. It's about eating quality nutrients for two. I ensure that all of my meals taste amazing. I enjoy most of my meals relatively, but I'm also ensuring that I'm getting quality nutrients. So with this meal in particular, the biggest focus is fiber. So with the oatmeal and the chia seeds, I typically will have apples instead of bananas just because apples are higher in fiber, but I've had a sufficient amount for today and I felt like a banana instead. So giving yourself that variety is important as well, but fiber has been my focus with this meal. Earlier with my lunch, it was iron, and then obviously throughout the rest of the day, fruits and vegetables and protein. Oh, and water as well. I think I've had 6 of these today, so I'm really ensuring that I am getting 3 liters of water. And I do these things every single day. I switch things up depending on how I'm feeling, so I won't always have protein oats for dinner. Sometimes I'll have a burger if we're barbecuing. Maybe I'll have some ground beef tortellini or something like that. So that way I'm still getting that variety, but I'm still keeping that intention in mind of high protein, high fiber, high iron, staying hydrated, and lots of fruits and vegetables throughout the day. And that's it. Like I said, it's not about eating for two from a calorie standpoint, but it is about eating for two from nutrients, right? Really just making sure that you are prioritizing the important nutrients that we know. And believe me, ladies, I get it. It's so easy to justify that you are eating for two, therefore you can go overboard. And don't get me wrong, I have indulged in cravings. There are certain days where I want to have some ice cream with my husband. There are certain days that I'd rather have, a treat in comparison to, a high fiber, high protein meal. And I will lean into those ever so slightly and indulge a little bit here and there. But you have to find a balance of not overindulging. It's okay to indulge and enjoy yourself, but you don't want to overindulge and justify, well, I am pregnant, I can just eat however much I want. Even though, yes, we are required to eat more food, it's not as much as a lot of people think or justify in their heads. And I've had those moments too, where I justify to myself, like, oh, I'm pregnant, I can, indulge a little bit more here and there. And while I do a little bit more here and there, you still have to remain self-aware and make sure that you are at least including the healthy nutrients in your day first and foremost. That's your prerequisite. If I wasn't having this right now, then I wouldn't be having something that I am craving. But as long as I'm making sure that I'm, hitting my non-negotiables of nutrients that I know that I need to in a day, and I'm still feeling a little hungry later, yeah, you know what? I'll enjoy myself and treat myself every now and then, but we don't want to overindulge, and that's the difference. Well, I'm gonna go eat, enjoy the evening, and I'll see you guys in the next video.